You know, my videos have got millions of views on TikTok, which is funny because I do not have TikTok and never have done. I actually found this out sometime last year, I think, purely by chance because I saw a comment on one of my YouTube videos saying something like, I saw this on TikTok or I came here from TikTok. And I thought, that's odd. That seems very strange to me. But lo and behold, if you just search some of the titles of my videos, the bigger videos, I've got a couple of videos on my channel on YouTube that have done over 1 million views. If you search those titles or very slight variations of them, just in a Google search, not on the app, you can see there were, and still are, I think, a number of accounts that have taken some of my videos basically and republished them. And it's not that they're imitating me, they're not pretending to be me using my channel name or anything, because, I mean, there'd be no benefit in doing that. You know, I'm a small channel, I have quite a small following, there'd be no real point, you wouldn't get any traction out of doing that. And also, I publish so few videos, you know, you wouldn't be able to, as I don't, you wouldn't have a reliable stream of content, so it would be pointless to do that. Now what it is kind of these compilation style accounts where they clearly take videos from a number of different original content creators, or dozens of people. And if you look at the main sort of channel pages, you can see the videos are from all over the world, like they're people, different locations, like some of them are in the desert or like Southeast Asia, and feature, you know, people who clearly look very different and different locations, different type of projects. They tend to have a theme, so they're themed around, this one, for example, is themed around renovation, kind of DIY, kind of excavation projects, I suppose, a bit like mine. And there are accounts like this, in fairness, of course, that are legitimate. You can get permission from people to use their original content. I think there are a number of these types of accounts, channels on YouTube, whereby they clearly agree with people to either give them attribution and or some kind of credit or money, perhaps, or commission. I don't know exactly how it works, but they clearly get a lot of videos from different people and publish them. And that may be happening possibly with some of the people whose videos are featured on these types of channels. But I certainly know for a fact that it's not happened with me. I have not given my permission at any point in time. I received no attribution, I've received no money. And although it's possible they have come to some kind of actual arrangement with the other people whose videos they've taken, I don't personally think that's very likely at all, because why would you? If you're willing to take one person's videos and just reuse them without kind of any attribution or, you know, money exchanging hands, then I don't know why you wouldn't do that for everybody, really. So I suspect that most, if not all of these videos are taken without the permission and knowledge of the original kind of content creators, the copyright holders. Although I don't know that for a fact, but I certainly know it for myself. And there's also no way the way the videos are being used is fair use. Now, you're most likely aware of the concept of fair use in copyright law, which comes into play quite often, and a lot of people, you know, use lots of clips from other people, even long sessions of video for things like reaction videos. You know, I've had a reaction video made of one of my videos. I did a video last year, or maybe a year before last, which was about transforming old building ruins into an outdoor kitchen, which did really well on YouTube. It got maybe, I think, 1.5 million views, which for a small channel is a lot. And yeah, there was an account in Germany that did a reaction video, you know, so they show pretty much the entire video, to be honest, but with their faces in the corners, and they were giving their views in German to their German followers about what they thought about that video, you know, and that constitutes fair use, and I don't have an issue with that, really.
Cool.
I'm aware that within copyright law, ultimately, it is permitted, but you have to add something, you have to change it, you have to adapt it and make it into a reaction video. Is different because the real idea of the video and the premise of the video is the reaction rather than the video itself, obviously. Whereas the way that these TikTok accounts are taking my videos is, well, they're not reaction videos, they're not really changing them in any meaningful way at all, they're not adding anything. They do edit them slightly, they sort of cut them up a bit more, they cut them into sections and different parts. I think that maybe they omit parts of it, they speed bits up. You know, they tailor them to their TikTok audience, I suppose. And if you were a cynic, you might say they tailor them to their TikTok attention span. You know, they shorten them down and they speed them up even more, even though a lot of my original videos were time-lapsed to begin with and very sped up already. I think they speed them up even faster. So they do make very slight changes. They're not exactly the same as I publish my videos, but really those changes are very minimal, and they're more about just editing taste. They pretty much have just wholesale taken the whole video and republished them on a different platform. The main other thing they do change in the videos is the music. So a lot of my older videos in particular, were time-lapse, so they're just backing music. And ironically, the real reason they've changed the music, of course, is not personal taste, it's because of fear of copyright infringement. Because music licensing is an area that's really heavily sort of policed and monitored. And, you know, if you use music without permission on a certain platform, you haven't got permission to use it there, you'll get, you know, contact from lawyers, or, you know, people, you know, it will get noticed and it will get cracked down upon, and you'll have to take the video down or change the music. So they're obviously conscious and aware of the concept of copyright and copyright infringement, and they're wary of that, and therefore they change the music. You know, because the music I use in my videos is a combination of, some of it's a paid license, so I bought a license through a company called Bensound, and then some of it is from the YouTube audio library. So if you've ever used YouTube to, in terms of the studio, in terms of publishing videos, you'll know there's an audio library which is built into YouTube, which has songs and sound effects you can use for free on YouTube alone. solely on YouTube. They're not going to allow you, for obvious reasons, to use them on a competitor platform, their major competitor. So if you look at this TikTok account, you can see there are 4 or 5 of my videos that have been taken, mostly from some of the earlier excavation I did and also the transformation into the outdoor kitchen. And on this particular account, I think they've got, between all of them, about just over 1 million views or so. But yeah, there was another account that has since been taken down where pretty much exactly the same videos, in fact, it may even be the same person, I think they probably had 3 or 4 million views between all of them. So yeah, maybe not gigantic numbers still, but more than 0, which is kind of what they should be. And to my knowledge, and I suppose what has tempered how annoyed I am about this, is I don't think it's worth any real money. As far as I know, 1 million views on TikTok pays very, very little, like literally a couple of dollars or something. It's worth absolutely nothing. So assuming this account is monetized, which you would think it must be at that kind of size and how long it's been going, and why would you do this if it wasn't monetized? I suppose to some sense, at least from my videos I've taken, they probably have made really very, very little, like say maybe $2 or $3, and maybe more, maybe $10, but hardly anything. I mean, that doesn't mean it's okay, but if someone had taken my content and was making huge amounts of money, that would obviously add to my sense of annoyance and kind of injustice about that, I suppose. But having said that, if they are monetized on TikTok and illegitimately taking other people's videos as well, some of the other people's videos they take that are on this channel have sort of millions of views, so they may be making quite a bit more money in total. But as I said, it is possible they came to a legitimate arrangement for those other videos. Possible. What I feel more aggrieved about, more than the money side of it, because I don't think they are making any real money out of this, is really just the fact that as someone whose content and channel, I suppose my YouTube channel, has always been heavily constrained, and I suppose my success has been sort of limited in the sense that I can only get so many videos out. I think I've made literally about 30, 35 videos, I think maybe, in total since I started my channel like a few years ago. Because all my videos take a huge amount really of manual labor. So they take weeks, months of work to produce the raw video footage to be able to then edit them into the videos I make. And it's frustrating to see people circumvent that by just, completely going outside the rules and just taking other people's videos. If I had free reign on YouTube to look at all the interesting, cool projects that people are doing on other YouTube channels, renovating things or building things, and could just take their raw video, realistically that would get quite a good audience if you had a lot of interesting people's projects you could take from. I could get quite a lot of views, a lot of subscribers, assuming I could get away with it, which I wouldn't be able to because it would get cracked down on. But if I could get away with it, I could build up a massive following and get lots of subscribers and views, no doubt. That would be quite easy. They wouldn't even have to be edited that well, purely out of the virtue that you had that amount of content to put out. You could gain a big following from that. Because yeah, these types of videos that require lots of manual work are time consuming. You see channels put out videos whereby they do like a time-lapse summary of like a year's work, like a year on their project, doing up that piece of land, or what they built on that piece of land, like a year or 18 months. But you wouldn't be able to get away with it on YouTube because there's an inbuilt copyright checker that tells people, and it would get, your videos would be taken down and your channel would be taken down probably. But also, even if you could, I've got no interest in doing that. I would never do that. It seems very hollow and empty, certainly as a way to make a few dollars out of it. And really, I've no interest in doing that. I'd much rather work on my own project. And ultimately, I've kind of come to accept that, there's only so many videos I can make, and that's how it is. And the people who followed me for a long time, know full well that they're not getting a video every week. That's just not how this channel works. But yeah, it's just so it is frustrating to see people just kind of, cheat, basically, bypassing that problem, that issue within content creation for renovation or hard work type videos that require kind of intense labor over a long period of time. And what is interesting to me is how oblivious people on TikTok seem to be to this type of thing happening. Because as I said, if you look at the channel page as a whole, the whole of this TikTok account, you can very easily see, it's very obvious that it's not the person who's publishing the videos who's doing the work in the videos, because it's all different people. But I suppose the nature of the way people consume content in sort of a scroll-based feed, where they're scrolling through these different videos from different channels, different people all the time, I guess that the algorithm is feeding them, is that they never really do that so much, or at least not often. They often never look at the actual account page. So they don't get a sense of all the videos that person's putting out or that channel is putting out. Because if they did, they would see, obviously, it's not me. If you look at the comment section of the videos of mine that were taken and published on this account, you can see quite obviously that the default assumption is still that people are speaking to the person who's in the video. So when they comment, they think they're asking the person in the video about the video, because a lot of the comments are very similar to the type of comments I get on my YouTube videos. So it's things like, how long did this take you? You know, where is this? I don't know, how old are these ruins? Because some of my videos are about excavating these old building ruins. And of course, the person who published this video on TikTok has no idea. They can't answer those questions because it's not them. And if you looked at their channel, their account, it would be obvious that it's not them. It's not them who's publishing it. It's not them featured in any of the videos. They're not in the video, you know, being recorded. All the comments clearly are directed towards me. They think they're asking me, but they're not. They're asking this account holder who's not me. In fact, to the extent that there's actually one comment I think that says, I follow you on YouTube. But of course, well, yes and no. You do follow me, as in the person in the video on this TikTok channel, because that is me, but you don't follow the person who published the video, because that's not me. Put your hands up, that person in the YouTube comment section who you think, who put this on TikTok. And assuming that these types of channels are monetized, the other people who make money out of this, of course, are TikTok themselves, you know, TikTok Corporation. I mean, you know, very small amounts of money. I'm sure that, you know, as a proportion of TikTok revenue, what are very small TikTok accounts taking even smaller YouTube accounts videos and republishing them is, you know, is going to make up a minuscule amount of money for them. But nonetheless, if they're monetized, then they're making a little bit of money out of it, and ultimately they have no right to do so, you know. And from TikTok's perspective, they would obviously point to the fact that it's not them who's publishing the account, and they expect channels and account holders on TikTok to adhere to their community guidelines and, you know, and to have copyright and not to infringe other people's copyright. You know, you probably have to kind of tick some kind of declaration saying you've got the permission, or you have the original copyright to this content when you're publishing it, or something like that. From TikTok Corporation perspective, they can say, well, you know, we were deceived. This person has effectively lied to us that they've got permission to use this, or they've got the copyright, and that's not our fault. We can't control that. But, you know, I don't really agree with that, to be honest. The whole system, the way this system is kind of set up in terms of copyright on these types of platforms, in my opinion, is really just almost to create a system of plausible deniability, whereby the platform, TikTok in this instance, can say, you know, well, we didn't know, you know, we expect channel holders to adhere to these standards and community guidelines and to have the copyright, etc., etc. And this person has deceived us. We've been deceived. You know, it's not our fault. But I just think they could easily do more. The sort of capability that these tech companies have, the big tech giants have, I think it would be quite easy for them to set up some kind of automated system whereby it flagged accounts like this. Accounts where clearly it's not one person just uploading themselves. It's clearly taking videos from all kinds of different people, and whereby the videos are not fair use and couldn't realistically ever be described as fair use. I think they could set up some kind of system whereby those accounts were flagged, and in my opinion, it should be kind of, the platform really should be expected to actively challenge those types of accounts to, at least periodically, maybe not for every video, but maybe when they get monetized, at the point of monetization, or perhaps at the point they get a certain number of followers or views, to actively challenge them to demonstrate and prove that they have permission from the copyright holders. Because they're clearly not the original copyright holders, because they can't be, because there are 100 different people featured on the channel. And again, I'm well aware that you can have an account like this that is legitimate and run legitimately, and it's all fine. But I think that they should be required to demonstrate that. You know, and TikTok, in my view, really knowingly turn a blind eye to this type of thing, because they can't really be bothered to do anything about it, and they're not inclined to do anything about it. And just to cap it all off, I actually get contacted by TikTok every now and again, I mean, just as generic emails, to, well, basically to ask me to join TikTok. I mean, if you have a YouTube channel, even quite a small one like mine, you get all kinds of emails from random people saying they're representing brands, all this kind of stuff. And they always have very kind of suspect email handles that look very sketchy, and they're kind of scams and things. These ones from TikTok, I've got a number of these, do look legitimate. They've got an @tiktok.com handle, and you can see there's actually a Gmail verified tick saying it's from that is who they say it is. And they're just generic emails, I assume, sent to hundreds, thousands of people, probably thousands of account holders on, you know, channels on YouTube. They obviously get a list of kind of accounts, YouTube channels they know are not on TikTok, and approach them and say, you know, why don't you join TikTok? We've got this program, and they offer you these incentives and money. And the general gist of the email, which you can see, you know, pretty clearly at the top in the first couple of sentences, is them saying, you know, you've obviously got a bit of an audience on YouTube. We think you might be able to have an audience on TikTok as well. Yeah, no shit, you know. I do. I mean, it's not, you know, that's not a theory, that's a fact. I do have an audience on TikTok already against my wishes. And not a gigantic audience, maybe by TikTok standards, but an audience nonetheless. You know, there are views out there for my videos, because videos like mine because they're literally my videos on TikTok and have been there for some time on a number of different channels. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, TikTok Corporation, yeah, say knowingly just lets that happen, really. It turns a blind eye to that when they could do a lot more quite easily. I'm tempted to reply to these emails, you know, encouraging me to join TikTok by saying, you know, actually I, well, sort of already am on TikTok, say against my will, and maybe you could just send me the money you're offering as a backdated payment and we'll just call it quits. So maybe I'll do that if they respond. I can't imagine that they will or ever see this video, but if they do, I'll let you know what they say. So yeah, I don't really know what to do about it really, or where to go with this. It's just a bit of a rant, really. I mean, if you are the person who is taking my videos or has been or thinking about it, please don't. I mean, what's the point, honestly, for the sake of a few dollars? You know, there's a whole world out there, kind of opportunity to create your own videos ultimately. And I do recognize, and I am conscious that a lot of people, at least to do the types of videos that I make, don't have that opportunity. Those types of project type videos. Obviously YouTube is full of these types of things. And that's, you know, that's a real shame. And a lot of people may want to be able to create that kind of thing where they're renovating things, but they just don't have the time or the money or the, you know, the budget, the opportunity. They haven't got the opportunity to do it. But there is still ultimately a huge opportunity on the internet to create content of many, many different types that don't require any real resources or these kind of opportunities. And also, copyright law, as we've discussed in terms of fair use, already is really very generous, in my opinion, and provides a lot of opportunity to effectively use other people's content to create your own content. And a lot of channels on YouTube do that to great success, and they, you know, that is ultimately a very reliable way, the most reliable way of getting reliable stream of content, a steady number of videos going out, is basically to use and to react to other people's videos. As sad as that is, that's just how it is, really. You know, that's much easier. I'm not saying it's easy to do well. I think a lot of people do it without success, I'm sure, and the people who do it are very good, and they who do well out of it are very good. But it's a very easy way of getting a steady and reliable stream of videos, far more than what I do. If you want to be a content creator, then, you know, there's lots of opportunity to do that. The other thing I noted when looking into this is there are actually some accounts which look like they're possibly automated, in the sense that they are not a human being who's picking out these videos and sort of curating a selection of these compilation videos from different people's accounts. You know, it looks like they've just sort of set up accounts and have an automated process of taking someone else's videos and republishing them, knowing that they're not on TikTok. And the reason I say that is because for these bigger channels that have taken some of my videos and republished them and say seems to have got a few million views, including the one that got taken down, they did what would really be the common sense approach to doing that, which is they took the best videos, the most popular videos, kind of the greatest hits. You know, they picked out a couple of videos on my channel that got over 1 million views or multiple hundreds of thousands of views, because I got a big, massive spread on my channel. Some of my videos have got like hundreds of views, I think, if not, or maybe 1,000 or 2,000, and some have got one's got nearly 2 million. You know, this is a massive spread. So they've taken the best, you know, the most popular videos and thought to themselves, oh, maybe those would be popular on TikTok, as you know, which would make sense. Whereas this random account on TikTok, which is, you know, much, much smaller, they've basically taken all my videos, literally kind of republished every single one, including ones which are really not popular and truthfully just not good. I have this excavation project, and I did this video where I saw how many tons of soil I could dig in a day. It's not a good video. You know, I didn't set out to make a crappy video, but it's just a bit boring, I think, anyway. You know, it's not a kind of, no human being would watch that video and think to themselves, oh, this will do well on TikTok, or could do well on TikTok. You know, you would just never think that. It didn't get a lot of views. It's not a particularly interesting premise. It's not well made. You know, it's still on my channel. I leave it there, but you know, it's not a video I have any great deal of pride in. Don't watch it if you haven't seen it. It's not good. Anyway, so yeah, I just think no person could have thought that was a good idea to lift and put on TikTok. So I don't know whether this entire process is just automated. And even if it's not possible now, it's surely only a matter of time until you have AI with the capability to trawl the internet for content, finding channels and accounts on different platforms, and then finding they're not on other platforms, taking all of their content and then republishing it in a slightly different version on the other one. You know, in this scenario, taking a channel on YouTube has got, in my case, I think 40-odd thousand subscribers, realizing there's no name of that channel on TikTok, and just taking all of their videos and republishing them. You know, and if you can get AI to do that, which I say, if that's not already possible, surely won't be that long, then theoretically you could have effectively an infinite number of accounts where this is happening, just popping up out of nowhere, taking loads of other people's content, getting to a point where they're monetized, and then even if they get taken down, then just disappearing. And I don't know how you're supposed to monitor that, you know, unless you spend your entire evenings searching on different platforms for videos that are like yours, you know, looking at every single title of your video or very slight variations of them and trying to find similar videos. If at the point this does become kind of AI driven and that AI has that capability, it could reach a pace and a scale that's basically impossible to monitor and sort of stop, really, to prevent, because people could just be taking your content and republishing it all the time, unless you have an equivalent to YouTube's copyright checker, you know, inbuilt copyright check in the studio, whereby you can just you have your own system that also trawls the internet to find it and automate and sends out an automated, you know, threat to take it down, basically, which I guess might be possible, and maybe even is possible now. I mean, you might say the obvious solution to this is, well, why don't you just join TikTok? And I could do that. And, you know, although I suppose it doesn't guarantee people wouldn't still take your videos and so on. And I could publish the videos before anybody else. But I guess really the simple answer is I don't really want to be, and why should I have to be? I shouldn't have to be on TikTok just to stop people taking my videos and putting them on there without my permission. I have nothing against TikTok and the people who post on TikTok or watch it. It's just not really for me. Rather, we'll just focus on YouTube. You know, I'm kind of recognizing, I'm well aware that I guess a sensible strategy for social media, you know, content creation is to be on all the platforms, to kind of re-edit your same videos and do shorts and do re-edits of the same videos for Instagram, for TikTok, for you know, Facebook, YouTube, all the different, you know, everything really. And that's how you can, you know, build a following and try and maximize the opportunity to you know, grow your following. But I just, you know, I don't really want to do that. I would rather just post on YouTube, to be honest. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on the issue. I don't really know where I'm going with this. Please don't take my videos. Just make your own videos if you want to make videos.